So this is the base of this chair. Here is a spring, and if I do that, the spring disappears. So the springs aren't even in place. Two straps on top of each other here, big gap here. Whoever was doing this, they knew that there was a huge problem with this chair, and unfortunately some upholsterers are no better than second-hand car dealers because they just don't fix what the problem is. I'm sure that when they did this, it was all pulled in, it looked nice and neat, customer was thrilled, and in actuality the person hadn't done anything. So all of this has to come out. But this is just one horrible mess. This is just wear and tear from people kicking it with their shoes. That's actually quite nice. I like that. That just means that this chair has got a lot of stories to tell. But it's also been mistreated, so we'll get that sorted before I start putting it all together. I keep swinging from whether I want to put them either side of here. If I do that and fold that down, it just clears the inside of this leg. Here's my centre mark here with the webbing over the top. I'm going to take the webbing to about 1/2 inch from the back of the frame. I think that's how I want to do it. And I've pulled it out to the front to make sure that this goes in straight at the back. You can see where the join was along here. The other people had put all of the pressure on this side, which really didn't help the chair very much. And seeing as I have glued all of this in, I'm going to use the front border of the chair here as much as possible. I'll line up my webbing to my centre mark, which is here. I'll twist this as hard as I can back. You want it as firm as you can possibly make it. I'm going to put my staples in on this side, about 1/2 inch in. Cut that back. Like that. Fold that back over the staples. There's about 1/2 inch between the end of here and here. Fold the fabric back and staple across to make sure that it's really held firmly. What I am concerned about is where the first row of 3 springs comes to, and I have a feeling that they come in this area up, which means I'm going to put my webbing across the side here. When you put webbing across when there's no straight edges, I'm just going to hold that there to here, and I'm going to hold it across the side here and put that in. I do that so when I pull it across this way, it comes in evenly. When you've got a round edge, you sometimes put it in at a slight angle, and that would mean that one side of the webbing would be tauter than the other side, and you don't want that to happen. It's a bit awkward. I'm having to put the back of this on top of the rail rather than along the side of the rail, and I'm going to have to just see how straight it looks. Trouble is it keeps going underneath. I need to just move it down slightly and pull it in. There we go. It's even both sides, which is rather good. And now I'm going to staple down here just 1/2 inch in from the outside edge. Release it, fold that back and staple that into position. I'm going to work out where I want the back one to go, and then I'll centre the centre one. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the outside ones on next because they're on the outside of that leg, and then I will centre as best I can between these two for this one that goes all the way to the front, because that's going to change its angle slightly. It looks about even, and again about 1/2 inch in from the outside edge. I did end up with just the 3 across here. I could have put a 4th one in, and I could have put an extra one in here if I'd moved everything up. Sounds like a drum. That's all that matters. Now, something that upholsterers often do, if there is a split, they put staples across like this, which I've done all the way across this here, in the hope that it will stop it or it won't get any worse. And this is all glued on anyway. It's just an added precaution. And I will do it on the other side. You will see I did rethink what I was doing, and because the placement of the center spring would be here, I decided to put 2 webs across the front here. It does mean that these 2 are identical. I decided not to pull that one off, and I didn't think that was going to be too much of a problem. If anything gives on here, it should be redone anyway. This is the center where most of people's weights are. Something that is slightly interesting is here where it is worn down, and there's the indents of the top spring there, so when somebody sat down, rubbed across here, so I need to avoid doing that. You can see where this wire has been wearing away at the front here of this piece of wood for many, many years. The first thing I need to do is start undoing some of these. I have no clue what these people were thinking of. It's such a bird's nest. Birds do a better job than this. People should have taken the old ones out when they put new ones in, rather than keep adding to them. And I'll do them row by row so I can keep everything in line. Can you see that? That's a major problem, isn't it, darling? I'm going to very carefully cut that so I don't cut the kitten. No. Yep, got little people help today. There's at least 4 different types of string here. So over the years, upholsterers have been in here and done the work, but they didn't bother taking out the previous person's strings, which is a bit weird. It just shows how lazy some people are. I am going to put these 3 in the back here along this web line. Now, something I did notice on these, several of the knots were further down on the spring. Seeing as you're meant to have the spring so they compress over the base in a straight line or at a slight angle, but it's still a straight line over. I'm wondering if some of these had started twisting and the person at some point either put the ties on lower so that he could straighten the spring slightly because they had already started bending, or whether it really was a case of there were so many strings on the top like this that there wasn't anywhere else for him to put them. So I'm going to go back down through here like this. That's my 2 stitches on here, and I'm going to go across the back to this one and come up for that one. Again, I think I'll put 4 stitches in. It's a little bit overkill, but it'll be fine. There we go. Down. You're just over stitching, come up through here like this. Down through both sets of webbing. I'll keep everything together. I think I'll come up through this corner here. Also through 2 sets of webbing and down. Keep the stitches close to the springs, or as close to the springs as possible. I am going to put 4 on the back here. Up, down, and then across to here. There we go. Adjust that slightly, I think. There we go. I'll move that one slightly further back so it's in line with these, and sew this in. I can adjust that. I'm going to pull it so that it's there, and then up through this one here and down. And then I'm just going to cast off basically. Go over this a couple of times just on this one, a little ways it over, because you don't want any of these coming out. If these come out, you've got trouble. Push that through and then sew away from it a little bit if you can. I'm going to put a little knot in there too, where that went down. There we go. Leave that there. I'm going to start off with my slip stitch, so I go around and up like that. Pull the back end tight, so that when I pull the string through, it pulls down tight over it. I have here the frame with the 5 springs attached to it, and then I have my single one in the middle here. So I'm going to line that up with this one. Unfortunately, it's quite twisted. Not much I can do about that. So I think I'm going to start it here. This looks like it's centered through here. I'm going to go down through here and up the other side, just like I did at the beginning of the other one, as close as I can to the spring. I'm going to put my needle through the loop like that, so that as that's all tightened down, that knot will slide to where I need it to be slid to. It's come in nice and tight there. And go back down to hold it. You have to go down on the side you came up, otherwise it's not going to work. Come up next to this like that, and then down this side. I'm going to have help that I don't want today. So I've got 2 in. I'm going to bring this spring over onto this line. I need to make sure it's slightly in from the outside there, so that the side of this doesn't interfere with the side of the inside arm there. I need at least 4. You know what? I'm going to bring it more in line on this webbing here. She and I are going to fall out, I think. Come on, you. If I bring that in line there, that in line there, and that has to come in a straight line here. So I'm going to take that up there like that. Put this down, minding that bad child, like that. I do need to bring that a little bit more in line with the back of there. So I'm going to now go up through this one here, and then I'm going to go down here. I think because I'm worried about it, I'm going to come up here as well, because everything's slightly twisted. I don't want it twisting on me. Down, come back through here as well, and then I'll go across to the other side. I'm going to go into 2 sides of the front. So here's my 4th one here. If I look at the one over there, it's about here, because I have to make sure that that's even. Then this side won't interfere with the arm either. So I think I've got that exactly where I want it. So I'm going to pop this down, and then I'm going to do the 2 extra stitches to make sure it's exactly where I need it to be. There's really not much room with the springs already loaded into a frame. I'm going to put my 4th one up here. I'll do this one and knot it off back down through. So a couple of knots from there should actually hold it and stop it coming undone. They're like half hitches, if you know what a half hitch is. So I got that in. Now the front, again, I think I'm going to start in the middle. If I put this one here, technically it should be even closer to there. But if I do that, then I've got to pull these forward. I think with this frame, it's going to be really awkward to decide where it actually comes. Those 2 there and there, and that one needs to be here. I'm going to start with the centre one. Measure the distance between each of these to make sure it's exactly in the centre. You can move that along and it does make a difference. So I think I've lined this up where I want it to. Put my slip knot in. It's a little bit difficult to decide where to put the front of here because it wasn't sewn in when I took it apart. I couldn't take any measurements of it. The metal has a cover on it, so I'm hoping, I don't think that's going to be far enough forward. It might be far enough forward. I might just have to put an extra bit of covering over the front there, just build it up a little bit more. This side, I want that to be more or less level going across and inline coming here. The frame tells me how far I can move something. I can go back a little bit because that curves slightly. Move that back a little bit from where the centre one is. I'll put 4 in, there we go, and I'll do 2 across the front and then I'll come in on the other side. This one's a bit awkward because this one actually comes in behind here. This was put in exactly the same way as the original one was. It doesn't interact with the wood here, so I'm going to just sew it in here and be done with it, because one side of the chair really isn't the same as the other side. I'm still going to put 4 stitches in it. Just going to have to be very careful with where I put this one, that's all. It's level with the back webbing and it's literally just over. When I pull that down, it goes above the spring. I can adjust that slightly. All of the springs are in line. When I pull that, it straightens this one up. So everything has gone in more or less where it should do. Come up here. I'm going to just knot this off with a few half hitches and it'll be done. And I'll leave a long tail, so that's got a long way to go before it comes out. Now I've taken the length of twine, twice the length of here. So I'm going to turn that there like that. It's not a proper knot, it's just like a loop. And I can pull it tight. I'm going to pull it this way. And I'm going to do it exactly the same on here. How did I do it? Oh, I went over, round and round. Okay. It's not going to pull anything out of place because that's static. I'll pull it as hard as I can. This is what I was told to do years ago. Measure the bottom, that's 2 1/4 inches. Pull that one to this one, go over the top. I'm going to do it over the pair of those. Then over here to this side, because this join has to be the same as at the bottom, and that is 2 1/4. So when I've put this over like this, everything is set. It's not going to pull anywhere. They like to come undone, so just bear with them. This is the way I do them. I do over the center first and then I measure it. That's actually 3, so that was even wider despite me thinking that it was correct. Pull that one over, that's about 3. Round and across, and then just over here as well. Round, over and under. So that's my first one over there, and I can then pull that down. I'm going to pull this row so it follows the webbing. I'm going to actually stick it to the side like that, just for now. And the same with this one. I'm going to pull it over, following the line of the webbing. And this one I can put at the top. I'll just pop that there for now. That will hold it. I'm going to do the same on the other side so that they're secure. Secured either side for the moment. Then I am going to go front to back. Again, I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to bring it up to here. Now I'm going to tie both of these rings together. I'm not putting it up through there. I'm going to put it down here, around there and across to here. Now that's a little ways apart. So I'm going to measure that one, make sure it's the same, and then take that to the back, round and down. I'm going to measure the bottom, 1.5. There should be 1.5 between there. There should be about 3 between there, which there isn't. So I'm going to have to pull that quite a way in. Bring that in a little bit more. That should bring that middle one upright. It's easier to adjust them before you pull them in. I'm going to just pull this down here to start off with and attach it, and then I'll work this center one in so the center spring is absolutely up and down in a straight line. I've taken my one across here. I'm also going to take one across here. I think I want the front border here to be 6 inches, so it's got to be pulled down to about there. If I pull that in and secure it, and then I'll re-secure this one down as well at the front, and then I'll work my way across here so that this side's in at the same height. Then this one will automatically come in, and then I'll secure that one in the corner. The whole idea of this one is it goes down at an angle like that. This one has to go that angle, and then these ones should theoretically go in at an angle as well. We'll see. I've just hooked some of these over the front border, and I will be bringing those in to the 6 inches, which will then allow me to readjust any of these. These springs are quite a bit thicker than these, so they've got more resistance. I think, be okay with what I've done, and all I've got to do then is just pull it in. I have this center one that is joined to every spring. I have measured from here down to 6 inches. When I look at this has more of a gap than the other side. It's really quite close. But if I push down and let go, it does actually miss the inside of the arm there. What I am going to do is I'm going to go around and I'm going to pull in these side ones just a little bit more, maybe 1/2 inch, and then on round the back, and then that's my springs done. Not absolutely 100% happy. This spring rolls forward slightly, and the same with that one. That's not really under itself, which is a bit annoying, but I think they're close enough. They'll work. It's not so far over that it's going to break, and the rest are okay.